welcome back. You're listening to Across the Border. This is our Prophecy Reality Edition. And we're just going through some news items here. My next item is YouTube. Yeah, imagine that. YouTube back in the news, suspending more accounts. YouTube shuts down pro-Syrian government channels. How could they do that? Video streaming giant appeared to suspend the accounts of the Ministry of Defense, Syrian Presidency, and SANA, whatever that is. YouTube has suspended the accounts of at least 3 media outlets run by the Syrian government weeks after a report claimed the channels were violating U.S. sanctions and generating revenues from ads. There we go, they got them. Yeah, sanctions. They put sanctions, and now YouTube, because I guess that's an American company, they can't generate revenue from ads on countries that have sanctions against them. There you go. The video giant appeared to suspend accounts of Syria's public international news organization, SANA, the Ministry of Defense, and the Syrian Presidency. All 3 accounts appeared on Monday with a message which read, "This account has been terminated due to a legal complaint," or "This account has been terminated for a violation of YouTube's terms of service." The Damascus-based SANA TV's channel also appeared to be taken down with a message reading, "This page isn't available. Sorry about that. Try searching for something else." Well, these are all harbingers of our future as Christians and people who will not participate in the Antichrist monetary system that will be coming to you mandatorily. You will become a mandatory participant, or you will not be on YouTube or anywhere else, because they're going to have, the Antichrist is going to have sanctions against people who will not participate in his Federal Reserve, or whatever they call it in your country. Federal Reserve, Antichrist, Mark of the Beast monetary system. Soon will become mandatory and will require worship of the beast or its image or of the Antichrist himself. All these things will be mandatory. Most people not worried about it. As you can see, when most people volunteer for something, well, then it becomes mandatory for those who don't volunteer. It's like driver's licenses. Did you know that only by law, only people carrying passengers for hire or cargo are considered to be under the profession of driver and need a professional license to drive? And that everyone, like if you're getting in your car with your family to go to church on Sunday, you're not a driver. Your children, unless they belong to the state, they're not passengers. They're your family. You're traveling together. Now, the state thinks they own your children. And maybe they do. Maybe you sign them over. Maybe you send them to the public school and you've made your children wards of the state. Because that's part of it. When you send your children to school, to public school, and you drop them off at the curb there, or however they get there, but you consent to it, you are making them wards of the state, at least for the time that they're in school, if not more than that, but at least for that time. You see how this works? And how about all of the broken up families that have their children in custody battles at the court? Is the court now the children are now the ward of the court? They're making the decisions. The parents are they're saying, we're wards of the state. You see, getting all tangled up in this mess here. And that's the Antichrist thinks it owns you, and everything that you have is theirs, and your children are theirs. So, and when you sign up for socialist benefits, when you went down, because a lot of people think, well, I'm a conservative, I'm not a socialist, so they participate. And they participate by giving or receiving or both. And but you know what? They're carrying that card around, or the equivalent of it, by having that number imprinted on their brain. Yeah, you know what number I'm talking about. That one. If that's you, if that's your identification, see, your identification can be stolen. Did you know that? But you could buy insurance against identity theft if you're a socialist. If you're not a socialist, like me, okay, nobody can steal my identity. Come on, try. Try to steal my identity. You can't, because it's not wrapped up in a number, and I'm not identified with the state. I don't belong to them. I don't want to belong to them. I am competent enough to take care of myself according to the wisdom that God has given me, and I trust that God will take care of me, that He'll provide for me. And if He doesn't, well, then God has a problem. Imagine that, saying something like that. And some people might even argue, they might go, well, God provides through the beast system, because they don't call governments beasts like the Bible does. But all the governments are typified as beasts of one sort or another in the Bible. And it's because, they don't have a soul. That's one reason. Anyway, let's jump to this next article. Oh yeah, we're on the next article. Looking forward to the future when it's coming. I'm on YouTube now, and First Amendment Radio, and with my prophecy reality page there, and I'm already unpopular enough because nobody really wants to believe. Even most Christians are following some delusion that's been spun by the Counter-Reformation Antichrist army of the Jesuits, that is futurism, and then there's a few that even believe in preterism. Yeah. But I am a Protestant historicist. That's what I am. So anyway, there it is. They took down, what's his name, Alex Jones. And I think they did that just to make him more famous than he already was. Because he lost nothing. They just made him more famous. Yeah. If they take me down, nobody would care. Really. Because, they don't like me to begin with. I'm not out there. I'm not one of their shills. There are people that do believe that Alex Jones is a New World Order Jesuit shill, okay? And, yeah. That's the future. Won't be on YouTube. I guess I'll just have to go out on my 2 feet and witness to the truth. But it's like the whole thing with the applying for a passport. They called me up, and I'm pretty sure they're investigating me now. So I guess they're going to probably, I'm on the list. They're going to come and get me first. How do you like that? And you know what? Do I care? I'm already an old man. And they aren't outright killing too many people yet. I guess they could disappear me, but I don't think they're really worried about me, because how much effect am I having out here in the world? Not very much. And it doesn't matter. I don't do this for effect or YouTube numbers. I don't have 10,000 or 100,000 or 10,000 or 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. And if I were a socialist and I did fill out their Inquisition form every year, well, they would give me money back. As a matter of fact, I'd probably get a lot more money if I just became a socialist, because I have an adult retarded son that lives with me, and I don't get nothing from the state for him or the government or food stamps and socialist medical care and all that stuff that they give you. And I don't get none of that. I don't want none of it, because I figure it this way, I'm going to walk and live by faith. And if God can't take care of me, then He ain't a God that's worth me worshiping. But, He does take care of me. He has taken care of me, and He will take care of me. And if He doesn't, well, I'll still worship Him. But He is taking care of me. What did David said? I've never seen the righteous go hungry or begging for bread. Well, if I sign up for Social Security, guess what I'm doing? I would be begging for bread. If I signed up for socialist, what do they call it? They have it under the Social Security program for disabled people. See, I would be begging. I would be a beggar to the beast government. And I know a lot of people justify that and say, well, I can't trust God to. Well, of course, they don't say it that way. They put it this way. They say, well, that's God's way of providing for me. Well, if God couldn't do it without the state, he couldn't provide for you, he couldn't give you some work to do, or you couldn't rely on your family, look at like the kind of family government that God set up for his people, which is totally ignored, which is really supposed to be emulated in the church. What God did in Israel is supposed to be emulated in the church at large, because the church, the true church, is the true Israel of God today. The 70 weeks have expired. Yeah, that's true. And national Israel, as a set-apart people to God, its time was ended. It was prophesied by Daniel the prophet. And no, there's no gap. I'm sorry. The week that followed the 69th was, guess what? Guess what it was? Got a prize for you if you can figure that one out. What was the week that followed the 69th week in the prophecy? Come on, somebody in the chat room. Come on. What was the week that followed the 69th week in prophecy? Yeah. Yes, Corporate says supplemental security income, SSI. That's it. That's the stuff that I could collect. As a matter of fact, they would give me like 4 years back pay if I signed up. That would be like cash bonanza, baby. I'd probably have $20,000 or $30,000 or something. They do that. They want to reward you. They want you really badly. The Antichrist wants you. It doesn't matter what the cost is, because he's not going to pay it anyway. Because he just create more money, by creating more money, because he has total control of the money over the whole earth, he just robs everybody on earth to buy your soul. What a deal the devil has, man. He can buy your soul and make everyone else pay for it for him. Because the devil has no money. He just robs everybody else. Every time they borrow another dollar in America or create another dollar out of thin air, they're just robbing everybody on the planet. And then get this scam. They create this money out of thin air, and then they charge you interest on it. Yeah. They get you coming and going. They rob you when they create the money, and then they give it to you and make you pay interest on it. What a scam. I mean, that Satan has got this thing figured out, doesn't he? Yeah. And Christians think I'm crazy. Even Christians, all these futurist Christians out there, because they think the Antichrist is going to show up one day and magically he's going to make all this stuff happen in 3.5 years, and then it's going to be the end of the world. No, man, Satan, has been working for generations, hundreds of years on this monetary system. I mean, even at the beginning of America, he was trying to get in here with a central bank, and it took him over 100 years. Satan's, spiritual, transgenerational conspiracy. Yeah, it took him over 100 years to take over, to get his Federal Reserve coup of the U.S. Treasury, and well, we see what's happened since then. Yeah. Read all about it. I've got several books out there. You can read about a lot of that. I have a chapter in my book and many articles on my website at crosstheborder.org. I think Mark of the Beast 2018 might be one. I think that's from a chapter in my book. The Rapture will be canceled, and believe me, the raptures will be canceled. All three of them. I mean, I started out just going, well, this pre-trib rapture, I'm not so sure about that. And then, I ran with that for years, thinking it's post-trib. But upon further investigation, and a lot of deep investigation for going on, 13 years now, investigating prophecy, and I found out there's no 7-year tribulation outlined in the Bible anywhere. That's all counter-Reformation. Yeah, Jesuit counter-Reformation, Antichrist, eschatology developed just for you. Just for the Protestant world, to pull them away from the reality that the Catholic Church is the foretold great apostasy. Yeah. And that the seat of the papacy is the foretold seed of the man of sin, the Antichrist. Yeah. You know, the papacy knew 500 years ago that Protestants were saying that. As a matter of fact, the fathers of the Protestant Reformation were saying that and teaching it in their churches. And they said, man, we got to come up with a plan. We can't let this go on. We got to change people's minds about this. So they started working on it, and their plan has worked very well because everybody's forgotten now. They've forgotten history. It's called the Antichrist War on Christian history. That's what it is. On true Christian history, war on history, because if people knew history, well, then they would recognize that great apostasy. You know, now, today, that great apostasy is 2 billion strong. It's bigger than any other apostasy out there. I mean, you got the little Mormons over there, and you got the Seventh-day Adventists over here, and you got apostate this and apostate that, and you got the New Apostolic Reformation, and you got all the charismaniacs, and you got all these apostasies going on all over the place. But still, the biggest one, and the one that's behind them all, as a matter of fact, slaps them on the back, encourages them to, with their apostasy. That is the greatest apostasy out there, and almost 2 billion strong. That is the Roman Catholic Church. Not the church that Jesus said, I will build my church. Yeah, he said, I will build my church. Well, they built a church too. That's called the Roman Catholic Church, the Roman Universal Church. See, because it's Roman, it's not really universal, is it? Because their head is in Rome. They said, well, the bishop of Rome is superior to all bishops. As a matter of fact, he is the bishop of bishops. As a matter of fact, he's the vicar of Christ on earth. He speaks for God, ex cathedra. Yeah, he speaks for God. So he's like the head bishop, the head honcho. No, he's not. That's one of their big lies. And plus all of their murders and adulteries and their fornications and their love of money, and they really rule the world today, just as the scripture says. So people go, well, I don't see it. Well, that's why the Revelation says the beast that was and is not yet is. Yeah, because that power, the papacy that ruled for 1260 years, I think that was vanquished, after the effects of the French Revolution. And by 1870, the papacy had lost all power, all in the world. It was like only a shadow of it remained. But that shadow, ever since the fall of the papacy, the Jesuits have been working behind the scenes very hard. The dead Jesuit army, stealthily working in plain sight, basically, that Jesuit army to overthrow just the simple idea that the papacy is the seat of the Antichrist, and the Roman Catholic Church is that great apostasy. And tell people today, they're waiting for a new great apostasy. They think, well, this is it. This is it, because people are apostatizing today. But no, people have been apostatizing forever, basically. But there is a great apostasy which has a man who's called the man of sin at its head. And it appeared. And the reformers identified it. And now it's only greater today. It wasn't 2 billion when it reared its ugly head 500 years ago, and it was identified by the pre-Reformation and Reformation fathers as that great apostasy, and the seat of the papacy as being the seat of the man of sin, the Antichrist. But people, they forgot, and now they believed a lie, the whole Counter-Reformation thing. Counter-Reformation, left behind, Antichrist scenario. And you read all about that in my book, When the Third Temple is Built. They might build some kind of temple over there. It seems like it might happen. And we have one more news item in that regard.
Mr. Trump was at a campaign rally in West Virginia this week, and he wanted to talk about his accomplishments, speaking to his base. His base is heavily pro-Israel, and so he was talking about how he did move the embassy. But then he said something extra tacked it onto the end there that I don't think was definitely necessarily scripted, and it would have come as a surprise to his audience, I'm sure.
I also recognized the capital of Israel and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. What happened? Because every president, many presidents, they said, we're going to do it. We're going to move our embassy to Jerusalem. It's going to be the capital of Israel. And we're going to do it, we're going to do it, and then they don't do it. And if there's ever going to be peace, remember I said, with the Palestinians, it was a good thing to have done because we took it off the table. Because every time there were peace talks, they never got past Jerusalem becoming the capital. So I said, let's take it off the table. And you know what? In the negotiation, Israel will have to pay a higher price because they want a very big thing. They'll get something very good because it's their term next. Let's see what happens. It's very interesting. I've always heard that's the toughest deal of all deals. That's called peace between Israel and the Palestinians. They say that's the toughest of all deals. Let's see what happens.
The 20th of this month, Donald Trump is going to work out some kind of peace arrangement, and he expects big concessions from Israel for making his deal. As he said, he took it off the table. So we'll see what the deal maker is going to do the 20th, whether we get something going on over there in the Mideast where they can build this this temple. Well, they might or might not build the temple, and I admit that freely in my book. But this book is about what will happen hypothetically or in reality if they build a temple and no rapture happens. And it's an introduction really for futurists, dispensational futurists, to the historicist method of interpretation, and it overthrows a lot of what upholds the foundation of their dispensational doctrine. And so it has questions that need to be answered by futurists for their own sake, so that they can believe in their futurist doctrine. Because if they can't answer these questions, I don't see how they can honestly carry on or say that they're honest Bible-believing Christians when these questions have been left unanswered for years. No one has stepped up to my challenge to do things, show me the gap in Daniel's 70th week, scripturally speaking, or how the Antichrist could be the antecedent for he in the text of chapter 9, verse 27 of Daniel. Yeah, how can the Antichrist, who does not even appear in the entire prophecy, nowhere does the Antichrist appear, but however they make him the antecedent for he in verse 27. That's just impossible thinking. It just does not work. And these dispensational futurists need to own up to this. Either that or they just need to keep being dishonest, because that's all it boils down to, is dishonesty. They're lying to themselves and others, and they believe a lie. And the Jesuits who made this nonsense up, who laid the foundation for it, yeah, they're just laughing all the way because they don't even believe in the millennial reign of Christ, because they think that their Antichrist is going to reign for that symbolic period of time. Well, speaking of time, that's all we have time for. May the Almighty bless and keep each and every one of you as you continue walking in His kingdom day by day on the narrow way that leads to life. We'll see you next time.
Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the left behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.